Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about something pretty serious. What do you actually do when a digital fire starts? When your organization gets hit by a cyber attack? We're going to walk through how to build a real battle plan for today's world.
Okay, let's just get right into it. The hard truth is that for any business these days, a cyber attack isn't really a question of if anymore, but when. The threat is absolutely real, it's getting worse, and honestly, being unprepared is a risk you just can't afford to take.
And believe me, that risk, it comes with a hefty price tag. On average, a single data breach costs a staggering £4.5 million. I mean, that's a number that could easily sink an organization.
And we're not talking about some rare, once-in-a-lifetime event. Not at all. Nearly 40% of businesses right here in the UK have had a data breach in the last year alone. It's happening constantly, to companies of all shapes and sizes. But, the pain isn't just financial. The operational downtime can be absolutely crippling. Take this quote about the attack on Gloucester City Council. It took them 4 months to get everything back online. That's a third of a year, with services down and productivity shot. So when you're staring down that kind of chaos, what's the one thing that separates a manageable crisis from a total catastrophe? Well, it all boils down to the plan.
This right here, it's your lifeline. A cyber incident response plan is basically a playbook. It's a written guide with step-by-step instructions and procedures so your team knows exactly what to do to respond and recover when things go sideways.
The best way to think about it is like a fire drill. I mean, we all know what to do when the fire alarm goes off, right? You don't just figure it out on the spot. Well, a cyber attack is a digital fire, and you need that same kind of practiced digital drill to keep everyone from panicking and to minimize the damage. And the whole point of this plan, the end goal, is to build what the experts call cyber resilience. It's not just about building a big wall to keep the bad guys out. It's about being strong and flexible enough to take a punch and get right back up on your feet. Fast. But here's the catch, and this is so important. Just having a plan isn't enough. It's got to be accessible at the worst possible moment, when your networks are down, when everything is locked up. And this quote shows you exactly what happens when you get that wrong. The Scottish Environment Protection Agency, they had a plan, but when they got hit by an attack, their own response documents were stored on the very network that was compromised. The plan was completely useless when they needed it most. So what does a good, usable plan actually look like on the inside? Well, most of the effective ones are built around 5 core phases that guide you through the whole mess. These 5 steps are the backbone of the whole thing. You prepare and plan, then you detect and report, assess and decide, respond, and finally, you learn and improve. See how it's a circle? It's a continuous loop, so every incident makes you stronger for the next one.
Preparation is where you do all the hard work before an attack even happens. You're building your response team, making sure leadership is on board, and actually practicing the plan. That means things like penetration testing, basically hiring ethical hackers to try and break in, so you can find your weak spots before the criminals do.
Now let's jump ahead to the respond phase. Once you've spotted an attack and figured out how bad it is, that's phases 2 and 3, a clock starts ticking, and it's loud. Under GDPR rules, you have just 72 hours to report a serious data breach to the Information Commissioner's Office. That's it. 3 days.
And delaying that report has massive fallout. Just look at Equifax. They waited 6 weeks to tell the public their data had been stolen. 6 weeks. Millions of people were left completely vulnerable to fraud because they had no idea their information was out there.
And then, after the fire is out, you get to what might be the most important phase of all, learning. You have to do a full postmortem. What worked? What was a disaster? You take those lessons and you feed them right back into your preparation phase to make sure you're even tougher next time.
But here's the thing. A plan is just a piece of paper or a file without the right people to make it happen. And that brings us to a huge point. This isn't just an IT problem. It's a human responsibility.
You might think, oh, cybersecurity. That's what the IT department handles, right? Well, wrong. As this insurance guide points out, this has to come from the top down. The board, the executives, they have to be the ones driving the conversation and taking ownership of the risk.
And while leadership is key, this is where it gets really interesting. When you look at the lessons learned from actual incidents, what's the #1 area for improvement? At 23%,
It's basic cyber hygiene. And that's on every single person in the company.
So what is cyber hygiene? Well, think of it like brushing your teeth for your digital life. It's all the simple, everyday things. Using strong passwords, turning on multi-factor authentication, keeping your apps updated. It's the basic stuff that keeps your systems healthy and secure.
So in the end, building a real cyber shield isn't one person's job. It's not one department's problem. It's a shared responsibility, from the very top of the company all the way to the front line.
All right, so let's quickly recap what we've covered. First, attacks are going to happen, and they are expensive. Second, a practiced, accessible response plan is your absolute lifeline. Third, that plan needs to follow the 5 phases: prepare, detect, assess, respond, and learn. And finally, and this is the big one, security is everyone's job.
Which really brings us to the final question we want to leave you with. Your organization has a fire drill, right? Everyone knows what to do. But do you have a cyber drill? Are you just as ready when that digital fire alarm starts blaring?
Because at the end of the day, when that digital fire does start, being prepared is the only thing standing between a minor hiccup and a complete catastrophic meltdown.